Gentlemen of the press, thank you very much. Good afternoon. You are all aware that Mr. President is also the Minister of Petroleum. And as is characteristic of Mr. President, he did not even see the people he appointed before he approved the appointment. He appointed them based on their documentation and the competence that he saw in their credentials that were submitted. So after the appointment, of course, you know that the PIA is in force now, and the agencies that have been created by the PEA are now functional. The Upstream Regulatory Commission, the Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, and the Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority. They are fully functional. Their chief executives and some of the executive directors are in place. So I had to bring the chief executives of these two agencies to Mr. President so that at least he can see them for the very first time, so that on occasions as minister, when he meets them, he will recognize them. That is what we came, and of course, they used the opportunity also to tell Mr. President their programs for their agencies, and got Mr. President's chair from them. And that's all we came to see Mr. President for today. Well, you know, the petroleum industry is being regulated by them. So, of course, the industry squarely, the viability of this industry squarely rests on their shoulders. Of course, as suggested, I would like to give the floor to them so they can give you an idea of their programs for their various agencies. First, Upstream.
Thank you, gentlemen of the press. Like the Honorable Minister of State has said, the full implementation of the Petroleum Industry Act has commenced by our appointment, and indeed we have resumed in the office. Like for the Nigeria Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, which I am the chief executive, I've been in office in the last 30 days, and in the process, we've been able to come up with 6-point agenda in line with the prescriptions of with the Act, which we intend to transform and add value to the Nigerian upstream activities in a manner that we can optimize value across the value chain of the Nigerian upstream activities. And among these is we intend to, basically work towards enhancing our daily production, which at the moment hovers around 1.6, between 1.6 million barrels a day. In fact, that is the data as of today. So we intend to actually optimize that, and that is put measures in place to do that in alignment with the IOCs and other producers. Equally, we intend to put measures in place, initiative. We are actually initiating that is public-private partnership initiative, which we intend to use to curtail, at least to curb the issue of crude theft, which is impacting negatively on our federation revenue. At the moment, the nation monthly is losing close to, that is 2 cargoes. So we are initiating that. We intend equally to ensure full digitization of the upstream activities in a manner that the nation will have advantage of monitoring on real-time basis. That is the activities of the upstream. So we intend to do that, and in addition, as part of the agenda we intend to unfold is we are very conscious of the threat, to investment in the upstream. That is by the fact that we're in energy transition regime. As a matter of fact, we are a regulator in energy transition period. So we intend to operate in a manner that we facilitate and enable investment in the industry in a manner that we mitigate the effect, because we are conscious of the fact that there will be effect of that energy transition, and part of the effect that is already being noticeable is funding challenges. So, we put in place strategic plans to mitigate the expected challenges of energy transition. So by and large, these are the agenda we have put in place, for us to optimize value for the nation in the upstream industry. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is FAROUK Ahmed. I'm the newly appointed Authority Chief Executive for the Nigerian Midstream, Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority. When I took over, in the past there are only two, for example, areas we say upstream and downstream. But with the coming of the PIA, we have now emphasized the importance of the midstream. And our midstream and downstream, which we cover, will entail us to open up investments, especially in the gas sector, because we have abundance of gas in this country, but it has not been harnessed. So we need to encourage investment in the area. So our main focus here in terms of the midstream is to open up for investors to come invest in Nigeria in the gas infrastructure and gas production, of course, in collaboration with the Upstream Commission. Now, we have been working tirelessly in the past few years to sensitize our people to start using LPG, for example, and they were making efforts to do so. And the production at that time, the availability was there. But now it's more like tilting. So people are now interested and working towards the implementation, or rather utilization of LPG, but then the production is not commensurate with the demand. And this is all why we want to focus on investment in the area. Now, a lot of major oil companies like the IOCs want to invest, but the pricing framework is an issue for them. So we are working with the guidance of the Honorable Minister of State for Petroleum Resources to ensure that we put the pricing framework that is attractive enough for the investors, at the same time simple enough for the consumers, whether it is power or industrial-based gas-based industries or the commercial gas-based industry or the commercial sectors. So that's on the midstream. So a lot of work needs to be done there, and good enough. The PIA has made provision for infrastructure funds. That means that we're really giving more importance, a lot of importance to that sector. As regards to downstream, the key enablers really is to make regulations that will guide the way we conduct our businesses, especially with so many streams in the downstream sector. Now, what comes to mind to most Nigerians is the availability of gasoline or PMS of petrol. Yes, we have been working with NMDPRA, that is supply of last resort, to ensure availability of petroleum products, particularly AGO and PMS, a view of the demand, particularly coming towards the end of the year, the Yuletide, where demand is high, people going back home to celebrate Christmas. So we're working on that. And another area of concern to especially our transporters is on the Petroleum Equalization Fund, because they see that PAF has been scrapped, so they are wondering whether the bridging will continue or their outstanding liabilities, the payments will be paid. Yes, just to reiterate that, yep, we are going to continue the bridging, especially, and the payment of the outstanding debts will be processed, but we have to work towards verification to ensure that what we are paying for is actually a genuine claims. Thank you very much. Yeah, well, like I said, we have to verify because as it is now, we are coming in finding that a lot of unpaid bills by marketing companies, whether it is more money or development of over 100 billion that is outstanding. So we are inheriting a legacy debt of over 100 billion. On the other hand, we have to process all the invoices by the transporters and those concerned in transporting of petroleum products. So I cannot give you exactly the right figure now because we are in the course of doing our reconciliation. We just took over about a month ago. And this outstanding debt is from 2017 till at least October this year when we took over. So we're in the process of verification and then collating it before we to commence the payment. But of course, just to emphasize, payment will be made to transporters. There's no doubt about that. Thank you.
Well, of course, Mr. President is happy with the level of implementation of the PIA. A lot is going on. Already, as you know, the agencies that were created by the law are now in place. And Mr. President charged us to ensure that we use our best experience to ensure that the industry is on track. Luckily for us, we have very experienced people on the saddle, both in the authority and in the commission. And Mr. President asks us to go ahead and do what is best in the interests of Nigeria at all times. Hello? Please. Yeah, I thought that the Chief Executive of the Midstream and Downstream Regulatory Authority has already given the answer to that. But you know, we must understand that gas, cooking gas, is not subsidized. It is already a deregulated commodity. So the price of cooking gas is not determined by government or by anybody here in the industry. In fact, gas prices are determined internationally. And you are all aware that in Europe today, gas prices have gone up. There was even a crisis in Europe relating to gas prices. So the pricing of gas internationally now affects also the price of gas in the country. Apart from that, there are some issues around VAT charges on imported gas, and of course taxes on imported gas, which we are handling. But of course, while handling these taxes on imported gas, you must also juxtapose it side by side with the local producers of gas. So if you incentivize the importers too much, then you will also kill the local industry. And also, you don't want to incentivize the local industry at the expense of the import. Because if you incentivize the local industry at the expense of the imports, then you will not have enough gas produced within the country. So these are the issues of balancing that the Midstream and Downstream Regulatory Authority are handling. And I want to assure you that we are quite concerned. Mr. President also is very concerned. He's aware that the price of gas is high in the market. And we are doing everything to see how we can bring down the price of gas, especially as we approach the Yuletide. as I said, this is a commodity which price is not determined by us. If you tell us, for example, that crude oil prices are higher, there is nothing we can do about it because crude oil prices are not determined in Nigeria. We also, like you, check for what the price of crude oil is for today because it is not determined here. The same thing, when we see gas prices going up, gas prices are not also determined in Nigeria. Just like you, we are also checking what the price of gas is in the international market. But of course, there are some elements of the pricing that we can tinker with. And I can assure you that we are doing everything to ensure that those elements of the pricing are adjusted on our side so that at least it will amount to some reduction. But I will not give you a time or date when that will be achieved. We know that the Yuletide is already upon us, but we will see how we can at least make it bearable for Nigerians before then.
Thank you very much. Regarding your question as to how Nigeria, would benefit from the spike, the observed spike in the price of crude. Yes, in my earlier presentation, I had mentioned the fact that part of our agenda is to ramp up, production, that is Nigerian daily production. So we are working closely with the Honorable Minister to ensure that we ramp up the volume of our daily production. After all, the Federation revenue is a function of the volume against the price. So we believe that once we achieve that, working in collaboration with the operators, which in any case we started doing within our 30 days assumption in office. Like I mentioned, we've been engaging with the IOCs at least to encourage them to put more investment in the upstream. So with that, we believe that the effect will begin to show, and Nigeria will attract more improved revenue from the upstream. Yes, well, the issue of, like I equally mentioned the fact that we are equally working, with the minister trying to put in place an initiative that will curb, crude oil theft, because the moment all those measures continue to show result, then they will be able to optimize the net take from our hydrocarbon resources. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question. I'm happy that you noted that we are far-sighted by beginning the work on the transition from petrol to gas a long time ago. That process actually was kicked off, I believe, in December 2020 by Mr. President. It's a whole process. We have to have a critical amount of cars converted for us to make this viable for investors. If you have just 1 or 2 cars converted, then it is not enough for anybody to go and invest in gas pump stations because of 2 or 3 cars. So you need to have a critical amount of cars converted, and then when you have that number of cars converted, you also need to have a critical amount of gas pumping stations installed so that these number of cars can have places to refill. So to develop this is not just a one-day process. There is a lot of funding required to put the infrastructure in place for the pumping stations, to also enable the investment in that area. And then also, we promised 1 million free conversion kits, if you remember. And that also there's a lot of cost. And the cost that it came to about 600 billion naira to be invested in installing these pumping stations, and also to have the conversion kits to convert a critical amount of cars. That process of raising the fund has been ongoing. That is one of the briefings I had with Mr. President privately, to let him know that we have really gone to an advanced stage. And I want to assure you that at this point, we are almost at the concluding stage of raising the funds. I will not give you the details yet, because I'm going to discuss with the Minister of Finance. And when the funding is fully in place, we've been able to work out a PPP arrangement, and also work out some partnership with other countries who are willing to come in to invest in this area. I've already briefed Mr. President, and I want to discuss with the Minister of Finance before we come out openly to discuss with you, our friends in the press. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. On the first question, I'll leave it for the CEO of the Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority to answer, in terms of that is relating to the spike in prices, or the queues rather, at the filling stations. And then the second question, which is on the spillage in OML 29, we are quite aware of it. It's unfortunate that it has happened. It is also one of the issues I discussed with Mr. President as minister, and he has actually asked us to go and visit the site to assess the situation and report back. Definitely, we are quite concerned with what is happening in Nembe, and we'll be going there very soon, tomorrow, in fact, to go and look at what is happening and report back. Mr. President is very personally interested in that, and we have discussed it, and he said we should go there and come back and report to him, because environmental degradation issues are things that we are not going to condone. But of course, we'll work with the operators of OML 29 to ensure that this spillage is brought under control as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. You see intermittent queues in some parts, maybe of Abuja and maybe the environs. Basically, what happened is that some of the depot owners selling PMS above the official ex-depot price of 148 naira. They're selling at 156, 157. And the reason they adduced was that they are paying for their logistics, like shipping, in US dollars. They are paying for NPA port charges and NIMASA charges in US dollars. And they have to go to black market to source for these US dollars. And that differential between official and the black market they buy, that's why they added about 9 naira to 10 naira, depending on whether you are in Lagos or Calabar, Port Harcourt, or Ogara. Now, we had a meeting the week before last on Tuesday the 9th. Our NPA was there represented, and the DG Namasa was there as well. NMPC, major marketers, Moman and Dubman were all there, and we all agreed and resolved that NMPC excess capacity of their shipping their vessels would be chartered to all marketing companies, and they'll be charging in Naira. So now NMDPRA now will go and source for conversion in US dollar through the CBN. As for the NEMASA and NPA charges, it was all agreed that they will revert back to the supervising ministry to get direction on the receipt of their charges in Naira rather than US dollars. And I understand the process of that engagement with the supervising ministry has already commenced. Was the NMPC from the 15th of this month, they have already converted to charging Naira instead of dollar for their excess capacity charter to all marketing companies. So I believe with this, there will be no reason for the depot owners to increase their price beyond the official selling price of 148 Naira. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Have you released them? Yes.